been made before, but it won't prosper. When darkness falls, it won't prevail. The God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. Oh, my God will never fail. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. I'm not backing down from any giant, 'cause I know how this story ends. Yes, I know how this story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord.
You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good.
I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord.
You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. What is up, guys? I have a little story time for you guys. So, if you couldn't tell by most of my stories, they happen about like late elementary school to early middle school time. This one is no different. I think it was probably about 4th or 5th grade, and it's windy, y'all. But, which works, because it was really windy that day too, and you'll hear about it. But my friend and I, we were on the swing set, if you can't tell. That's what I'm doing here. And I'm laughing at myself already. We were challenging each other to swing as high as we could, and we were getting high, you guys. We were getting like parallel to the ground, like as high as we could. It was crazy. And so we were doing that, and then we started challenging each other to jump as far as we could. And then we were combining the two, and we were swinging really high and then jumping really far, and it was real scary. Don't do that. It's not very smart. It's very, very stupid, actually. But I digress. I ended up doing it, and because it was windy, the seat was caught by the wind and it twisted me when I was going to jump, so it pushed me out sideways. And then I ended up twisting in the air and falling to the ground onto my back. And I scratched up my whole back, I scratched up my legs, and I got super, like, I wasn't really hurt, but like my ego was hurt real bad. But it just goes to show that our friends have influence on us. If I was by myself, I definitely wouldn't have been doing that or messing around in that same form. But because I was with a friend and we were influencing each other to do this, that ended up happening. And just like with that story, you often probably ask yourself, just like me, like how much influence do we really have on somebody else? Because a lot of times it doesn't feel like we really can do anything or affect anything. So maybe you're not really sure what you have to offer. You wonder how you can influence somebody when you don't really know what you can do. Or maybe you struggle with the fear of failure, because I feel that one, guys. That's me. I definitely hate to fail, and I'm super scared of it, so I don't want to try and influence somebody, because what if it doesn't pan out? But you can't think like that. Or maybe you have like the idea that the pressure is too much when influencing somebody. Like there's too much weight on you and what you're saying if somebody is going to reenact or replicate what you're doing. Or maybe finally you've like never even thought about the fact that you could have influence on somebody. Or maybe it just seems unattainable that only famous people and celebrities and people with hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers have influence, quote unquote influencers. But that's not true. And I just wanted to like share with you guys real quick what the book of John says about influence. So it's from John 6, and we're going to start in verse 8. And to start, we're going to go through verse 13. And it says, one of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, there's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, and what are they for so many? Jesus said, have the people sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, and about 5,000 in number. 5,000 in number, you guys. And Jesus then took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also the fish, as many as they wanted. And when they had eaten to their fill, he told the disciples, gather up the leftover fragments, that nothing may be lost. So they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten. Jesus chose to use a little boy who had just a little bit of something for his lunch to feed 5,000 people and make an impact. That's wild. And then it goes on to say this in verse 14. When the people saw the sign that he had done, they left. This is indeed the prophet who has come into the world. So not only did this little boy have the opportunity to help and share what he already had in order to further the kingdom, but in doing so, people were able to see and believe in who Jesus is. And so, just like this little boy, we don't have to be popular, we don't have to be famous, we don't have to be some special someone with a crazy background that everybody's following on Instagram. We just have to be willing. This little boy didn't come from some crazy background. It doesn't tell you really anything else about him except for the fact that he came prepared with a lunch. But because he came prepared and he was willing to share it, now we have this great example of how good and how powerful the Lord is. And we can all read it. And these 5,000 people were able to witness it and know who Jesus is and what he's able to do. And so what we need to do is just recognize our influence. This boy, maybe showing up, he didn't have any idea that his fish and his bread, he was like, it's just gonna fill me up. It's not gonna do anything for anybody else. And now look where it got him. But with that, just recognize your influence. Figure out where you have influence over people. Maybe it's a sibling, maybe it's a friend. Just if you have the smallest amount of sway in a decision somebody makes, you have influence, or a choice that somebody's making, you have influence over them. So think about where that's at, and then ask God to use it for his glory. And that's all I got for you guys. Peace.